or journey. Um, Whether you are, at the current stage where you're a little bit more as a young professional, or later on when you transition into like a C-suite, offer negotiations like so important that in each stage that can help you get like basically more money. And who doesn't want that? I mean, yeah. So without further ado, I'm gonna go straight into this workshop and share about my experience. Especially why I choose this is because for Brix, we basically help millions of technical talents to find their jobs worldwide. We're a platform. For employers, we are the best recruiters that they've ever used so far. Not from the agency perspective, but for us, we're more like AI recruiters. So we have the like large talent database where they can search the best fit talents, and we will do the outreach and everything for them. But on the talent side, we also helped a lot of talents to find remote opportunities. And especially we would stand in their, like put ourselves in their shoes and tell them like how to do an offer negotiation when they're in certain stage. Especially when we're doing cross-border business where say like a talent in Philippines would find in the US opportunity. Often, what the US recruiters would do is they will try to lowball it. So, like they'll offer like a Philippine market salary. But the truth is, like if the candidates negotiate, they can get way more because keeping the mind that this is like really this is a US job. Like they have budgeted in a lot of money for this position. So regardless of where you are staying at, that you can negotiate. You can always negotiate for a higher offer. And even you're looking for something locally, this will be something that help you a lot. Yeah, so I'm happy to get anyone like just, interrupt me, raise your hand, say, "Hey, Carol, I have a question," or "This doesn't sound like working for me. Can you elaborate a little bit more?" I'm happy to do that. So today I just really wanted to, stand on the talent side and tell you what recruiters would think of. What's their methodology? What's their, their way of thinking, and how would you kind of break their immune system while you are in the interview stage? So, yeah, so without further ado, I would like to share. Oh, by the way, a lot of the content and idea here is from one of the videos that I thought is really helpful. It's from Jeff Su. So if you search him on YouTube, he has 1 million subscriber that he teaches people how to do job searchings and stuff. He's just basically an influencer from Google. He's working as a Google product officer as well, I think. Yeah, worth checking out his video. A lot of things are from his ideas, so I'm just elaborating and incorporating some of my experience into it. So just wanted to give that credit to Jeff if he ever saw this session. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to basically share something like why negotiation matters. I guess many of you like you will be here because you probably have an experience of like negotiating offer before that you failed or you wanted to do that, but you are not how do I explain that? Like you're not prepared enough to do that. So according to the stats, really, so people who negotiate can earn 100% more over the course of their career, and only 54% of the candidates don't negotiate their salary. So if you don't do it at this point, basically you are that 54%, but remember your friends, your folks are doing it. Um, like it's worth doing it because you're basically earning 100% more. That is like a whole tons of money. Like if you don't want it to lose. So I'm giving like a visual like a calculation here. Just put in an expression so everyone can understand how much it worth, just to catch your attention. So like say salary increase over 5 years. Um, if you don't negotiate, let's say you increase 10% every year, and if I'm a person that really wants to negotiate, I can get 21% increase every 5 years, which is the average salary, salary increase that from the research. And if you look at the average salary from the US research, that shows like around 30K dollars. Okay, say like so we all started from like 63 dollar 63K. Um, and every 5 years you increase 10%, I increase 21%. See how much the difference is. After 40 years, I basically get 154K higher of the salary than you. Remember, in each stage of your career transition, people would ask you, hey, how much did you earn in your last job? And if they figure out that, after 40 years later, you still earning like this amount of money, regardless of your ability, you will be looked down from a recruiting perspective. This is the experience I have for years. So I just want to share with everyone that this is not just for your if even if you're like a person like, hey, I don't need money, I'm super rich. But this also gives people an expectation, especially for recruiters, an expectation that you did worth a lot, like you are worthing a lot. So I like they will, look up on you. Um, People are just like this. I know it's crazy. And if you actually look at the cumulative number, the difference is actually 1.9 million. So that's why I said this workshop is actually worth it. So please do it from today. Um, yeah. So two things that I will focus on helping today. Number one is I really wanted to kind of have awareness for everyone how important it is to do offer negotiating. It leads to a higher future earnings in the future. And second is how I am going to help you increase the confidence. Basically, if you are confident enough to negotiating this offer, it can benefit you in other area. And a lot of times, like I was in like 80% of the times that we handle like I personally handle probably like 100+ offer every month, like over years, like thousands of offers. But like honestly, every good candidates, if they do offer negotiation, like as a platform that I see that they do offer negotiation, and I see like how the employers and recruiters reacting on that, I can tell you if you are really the person that they are going for, 80% of chance that the offer negotiation is going to work pretty well. So this is just some stats that I want to share. Nearly 90% of the employers said they've never resigned a job offer because of negotiations. So basically, if you are in a fear of like, oh, I'm gonna lose this job offer if I just ask like couple thousands more or like 10K more, stuff like that, I can assure you, like, unless it's like really like a big opportunity that you don't want to miss, like you getting like 2 times your salary already, you're just being annoying. Otherwise, like you'll get it. 73% of the employers agree that they are not offended when people negotiate it. There's always people, like I have to like put it aside, like there's always people that they're like, oh, like, what makes you feel like you wanted to negotiate? But even if they challenge you, you have to stay confident and say, like, hey, like, this is what I can bring to the company for the company value. I definitely deserve that, increase of the salary. And 84% of the employers said they always expect job applicants to negotiate. That being said, because on the backstage, like I'm the backstage person, right? So I see like how the budgeting process for the company is. Basically, before the hiring manager send out the job description, there is a discussion internally within the department how much budget that they wanted to put aside for the openings. Um, a lot of time there is a range. Reason why there's a range is not because they are hiring both senior and juniors or they're having different level of people. It's because it's ready for offer negotiation. And the later you are in the stage of an interviewing, the more leverage that you have. This is super important because a lot of people feel like, oh, I've already put so much effort into my last stage of interviewing. I've been already interviewed 5 rounds. Like if I would just ask a little bit increase, would I lost all my effort, my time in that 5 rounds of interview? The answer is no, you don't, because the more time you put in, the more time that the company put in, the more time that the hiring manager put in. The reason that they bring you to the last stage is because they really like you. So they are prepared. They are expected that they expect that you could do the job negotiating. So, and I wanted to touch a little bit deeper on understanding employer salary expectations. A lot of time, another reason that I find candidates are really not wanting to do job offer negotiation is because they don't know what's going on. Like they went into an interview, they're being like unprepared. They're like sending 1,000 job applications every day. When they actually get to the last stage, they're like, oh, I don't know how much you are offering for. Like they always tell me like, hey, like how do I do this? Like I don't understand this industry. Okay, that just basically means like you didn't do a good job, so you don't deserve that more money. So what we need to do is basically research the industry and understand a couple of details. Like number one, budget constraints. You could ask a lot of questions during the interview to understand if the company has a budget constraints. So a lot of high-level candidates, when I'm interacting with them, they would ask me this question like, hey, do you know that if this position has a budget constraint? It's just as straight as like I ask a million times, like, hey, how much did you earn for your last job? It's basically it's just a negotiation process. It's like we're testing each other. Like, do you understand how much I'm offering? Do you understand how much you are earning, right? And also sell industry standards. If you really have no insights about how much they're gonna offer, they didn't tell you. Some recruiters are really, sneaky, but they're not gonna tell you. And to do research, you could tell them like, hey, I did research in a lot of places, right? Like for example, Glassdoor, PayScale, and I know a couple people, like a network with a couple professionals in the company already. I know you guys are offering within this range. And if you are not in this range, you could ask them like, hey, I just want to understand a little bit more because I from my research, it shows like, like people are offered this range. Is there a reason why this job is not within this constraint? Like, is it because of the budget constraints or anything? And there's industry publications. You can read reports that you can read. Okay. Um, Now I wanted to go to like details, like how do you negotiate? Like what are the questions that you should ask? And how to be prepared. Like basically what's the techniques of doing that. So before I do that, I just want like a very quick just like discussion or like ask like if any, like people are here. So like how many of you guys are being asked this question? You can rate, I don't know if there's a function feature of raising a hand, but basically how many of you get asked this question before? The recruiter would ask you, may I ask how much you make at your current company? We're just trying to gauge if you are in the right range. You know, sometimes like how many, like I don't know if there's a feature, but yeah, anyways, like I got these questions a lot from the candidate survey. Um, you know, so like a lot of times they would push back on me saying, I'm not gonna tell you. They were like, oh, it's just like within like they give me a huge range. They were like 100K to 500K. So I know that they don't want to answer this question. Maybe because they didn't do offer negotiation in their last job, or maybe because they're not being paid really well at this time. They don't want to lose their advantage. So what I'm gonna tell them is like being a sneaky recruiter, I'm gonna say, I completely understand that you wanted to find a good fit, and so do we. However, we don't move forward with candidates unless we know what range they fit in. So I'm being really aggressive here. All I'm trying to do is to understand how much this person is being paid for. And if the recruiter knows like how much you are being paid now, oh my God, this is like basically you can still tell them a range. There's ways to like play around with it, but the idea behind it is like, you know, they wanted to figure out what they can lowball for, what's your like lowest range or what's your highest range that they can offer for. Um, and like the smart way of doing that is number one, know your worth. You could say, I know how, like, but in a nice way, you could say something like, yeah, I researched the market value and stuff. I believe my skill sets right now and the value that I can bring to the company would fit the industry range of this and that. So basically, you didn't answer this question, but you tell the recruiter that, hey, I did research, like, don't trick me. Sorry, I just Oh, yeah, I just got this question from Jess. Recruiters are not allowed to ask candidates about their current previous job salary, but obviously still do. So like this is like common practice. Like I'm just putting like a very straightforward example here. A lot of times you won't experience as this question. Like it won't be as straightforward as I mentioned. Just want to have everyone to understand what's happening. But they can't find like sneak ways of doing that. It's like something like, oh, what's your range look like? Or something like similar. But like it is there. I can tell you 100% it is there is a way that they can figure it out without getting your reference. And of course, reference is a part of it. So all the recruiters would do research about this candidate's last company's range of salaries. And they would actually research about it before they talk to you. So they're also being prepared. If they don't do that, they are not good recruiters. They're just testing each other. And also because we do international like job searchings and stuff. So in certain states in the US, they specifically said they cannot do, but some certain states you can do that. And also like in certain states like California, you have to put um, like a range of it. So like if you post a job, you have to put a range of it. Um, yeah, so just wanted to point it out. But feel free to drop questions. Okay, let's go back to where we are right now. So second is practice or pitch. If you feel like you're being too nervous or anything, you can always practice as like you're pitching for your friend or you're negotiating for your friend. It's just like how, if you would ever ask someone's number on the street, you'll be, oh, I'm too shy to do it. But you can tell if you are doing it for your friends, you could be like, hey, my friends just really wanted to know you. So it gets easier. So all I'm just saying is like, if you feel too shy, you can get your friends, you just imagine that you're doing it for your friends. Hey, my friends is worth this. Like they have the right skill sets. They are doing this. They should be offered more stuff like that. And also like be prepared to compromise because like if you are negotiating offers, like on the other side, people are negotiating back. So there's always back and forth. Like don't be super restricted or like feel like super bad or embarrassed if they like I have candidates, they were like they're offered like say 100K and they're like, no, I want 150K. Okay, and the company's like, whoa, that's too much. Just give an example, and the company's like, no, the maximum that we can do for you is like 120K, and the candidate become like super depressed. They're like, oh, like that doesn't work. Like, of course you have to be like reasonable and also prepared in some like ways that people are gonna offer like negotiate back, and don't ask for something crazy, but there is a range for doing that. That's what how I'm gonna say. Okay, so when the cat like when so going back to Jess' question, if the recruiter asks you like, hey, I want to understand the range, what are the right ways of responding to them and what you can say about it? So one thing is like you could say, of course, I totally understand your position. Would you be willing to share with me the range that you have been budgeted for this role? That way we can make sure that we're aligned. So, we can making the best use of our time. Usually if the recruiter would tell you like, hey, this is how much that we're budgeted for, that means like they're being serious about your application, being serious about this position. So it's always not bad just to ask. If they ask you how much you're earning, you ask them how much you budgeted for. So just this way, and they're like, okay, like if I don't want to push you anymore. So usually a lot of times they will just hold back. They're like, okay, yeah, this is how much we're budgeted for. Is this within your range? And you will say like, yeah, sure, but I would say something like, like if I were you, I would just say something like, yeah, but I will see like when I get to later stage of interview, when I understand more of the job details, like I will give you like a better answer of like how much I'm whether it's within my range or not. But for now, I think yeah, around that part. So you just be general. You're trying to be like nice and trying to say like, hey, like I need more information, and trying to let them push you to the next round. Okay, so practical stuff. When you actually wanted to do a job negotiation, you did a research. You know how much they are paying in the industry. You know how much your friend at the company are being paid. What you are actually negotiating about. So number one is benefits. Like of course we'll start with base salary. Like base salary is like so common that like everyone should know about it. So I'll just skip that part for the sake of time. But I would say like benefits, bonus, stock options. There are three parts that you can usually get a better like don't always think like offer negotiation is about strictly base salary. A lot of companies are pretty strict about base salary. If you do an offer negotiation, they're like, we are pretty strict on that, or like this is how much we budgeted for. But you could do benefits. You could say, hey, this is my family is like this kind of situation and that I need this and that. Yeah, you can always negotiate that kind of terms. It's not always super standard. A lot of times they are standard, but like if you don't negotiate, it will be standard. But if you make up some stories and say, hey, I just want like I want this kind of insurance. Do you guys have it and stuff? Like usually people will work around it. And second is bonus. And if you really like that works for a lot of roles that is like operation based, sales based, always ask for higher bonuses because that is the part that company would likely be okay for you to negotiate. Because if you ask for more bonuses, basically you're saying, hey, I agree to what you are offering right now, but I see myself as I can bring more value. So if I actually did that, can you give me more bonuses? And usually people are like, okay, yeah, like if you actually do more. So that, and also bonuses, a lot of times, can be discussed between like different departments. So like either like of course different companies are different in terms of the size, but a lot of times like if HR departments is like, oh, I have no idea about like how much additional bonuses that we can give it to you. After you get into the company, you're gonna figure out the way to talk to your people manager and ask for bonuses. So just keep that in mind. And third is stock options, especially for those companies that are pre-IPO. So we have been working with a lot of pre-IPO companies. And the most important thing is like, what's the stock option that I'm getting? I'm waiting for a company to go public. So you really have to looking at the vesting schedules that they have, the NSOs and a lot of details about stock plan. If you don't understand it, I highly suggest like spend a little bit of money. Oh, you can ask ChatGPT now, but ChatGPT ask DeepSeek, ask every model to answer that for you. Like, what does that mean? Like, a lot of people they have no idea by just signing the stock option grant agreement. But yeah, and if you do have like, if it's actually pre-IPO company, um, get a lawyer to review that for you, and especially if when you're moving to executive level, which I believe most of you guys will do. in a few years. So definitely do that. Stock options. Yeah, so some of the real world negotiation cases that I experienced very recently, um, software engineers get a higher salary and additional stock options. Marketing manager get a larger bonus based on performance. Sales get a flexible work schedule. So just keep in mind that based on your different roles that you are applying for, um, there's different often negotiation strategy, and often like maybe like say like sales roles, they have more work schedule, like room for you to negotiate, or like bonuses or commission. You can always go for higher commission. Um, and marketing manager usually like performance bonus, and software engineer, oh my God, stock options huge. Like you guys can't believe like how many stock option questions that I get every day for the because that if you're like really don't like that's like big chunk of money, and if you don't care the stock options, you can lose a lot. And especially for those people who just wanted to be in the company for like 1 year or two, just to get that IPO'd and sell your stock and go for another opportunities. I have friends like this a lot. You have to really understand their rules, and you don't want to be in a position where you kind of miss that vesting schedule, um, or like restricted time or stuff that ruin your plan. Yeah, so last but not least, make your personal salary negotiation action plan. You can define your goals, research, practice, negotiate with confidence, and all you're gonna do is practice. If you fail once, it's okay. Just you only miss that. You and me, you only miss that, $6,000 in 5 years. But if you keep missing it, it is $1.9 million. That's all I want to say. Okay, thank you everyone for the attention and the time spent with me. Hopefully, it is really helpful for all of you. And if you have more questions, I'm happy to answer it all.
Right. Thanks, Carol. I think this is a very beneficial to kind of just go through that structure and see how offer can be negotiated, vice versa. I think just a couple questions, maybe from myself first. I think I went through, I know it's being recorded, so I'm not going to go into too much details, but I went through recruitment process in the past where it was so not with the US company, but with a Chinese company. And then they asked you for your payment history, or I guess payroll history, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in that case, when people ask you, hey, how much were you making? You can't really just give out an outrageous number because there's just got to be ways to prove it out.
Mm-hmm.
The bank statements, and then they actually came down to the very detailed on the RSU grants, and also your vesting schedule and grant schedule and all that sort of thing. So in those cases, I guess you cannot inflate yourself in those numbers, but then so what do you do to put yourself in a better position on the salary side?
Yeah, so like a general practice that I usually tell people to do is like okay, so this is different between like how US companies and kind of Chinese company do. So in Chinese company, so like in US company, a lot of people, what people do is they give a TC. They won't tell you the base salary percentage or anything. They're like, my total compensation is this amount, right? And that includes the stock, the equity, and stuff, which is a little bit harder to verify. And if they ask you how, like, usually people won't go a step further to ask you how much you actually make up base pay. That's a little bit weird, but just give them a TC. So in China, it's different where the recruiters are allowed to ask for the pay slips and stuff from your last company. So you can't bluff about it. You can't bluffing. Like you can't because they can actually see how much the number is. So the general practice is like, hey, before I answer this question, I really believe that I'm a good fit, but I wanted to know like what's your budgeted range? What's your budgeted range for this position? And I want to see if I'm a good fit to just don't waste time for like, both of us. I want to see if we're aligned and stuff. And they can tell you like and that is tricky because if they tell you like a range that you're really not in the fit for, um, tell them like your actual salary. Like, hey, I got paid like 200K more then what's your budgeted range, right? This thing might not work for me. And the recruiter's like, okay, hold on, wait. Let me talk to the hiring manager, see if we can budget more for that. So they're using this technique during the interview stage to see where you're at right now. So another case is like if you actually within this range, you don't want it to share your exact salary, you could tell them like I'm willing to share until like certain stage of the company. You could be like the first call, hey, if I get to second round and stuff, like I understand a little bit more about job details, I'll share with you. So you play with them. So you don't have to always be super honest and tell them like how much I was making. So, but don't bluff because like in China, if they can actually ask for that after you get an offer. So if you do bluff, that could get into trouble, of like losing the offer. So it's different practice, but yeah.
All right, Jessica, go ahead. I see you raising your hand.
Sure. Carol, thank you for sharing your insight. Much appreciated. So I do have a question because right now the job market is much more competitive with all the layoffs, going on with many companies. So from your observation, what is your view on, the change of perspective on the recruiter in the market right now? Does it mean we are much harder to does it mean that we cannot go too many back and forth round with them? Is it harder to negotiate now? Like what should we do to adjust in this market?
So in the current market stage, it is very competitive for different candidates, and you will lose some of the negotiation power when you actually do this. So, but it's like my perspective is always worth a try because just as I mentioned, the company has already spent so much time with you, especially for big companies. They invest like their hiring manager's salary is like way higher than the recruiters. So like the more interviews you get into, the more time that they put on you. So it's always worth to negotiate. It's just as I'm like explained already, like don't do something crazy. Like don't ask for tons of money or something because the market is competitive. If you really make some like unreasonable ask, people would be like, oh, this candidate is crazy, let's just give up on her. Yeah, but if asking for something reasonable, say, hey, like for this role, this is the value that I'm gonna bring to. This is what I got offered from another company. This is I'm in the interview stage with the 5 other companies, right? If you want to grab me now, you grab me now. So you're gonna give them that sense of urgency as well. You're not always waiting for them to push on you. You push them as well. You're like, I got 10 other offers. Like I don't know which one to choose. That's one you can bluff. Like they not gonna there's rare cases where the recruiter is like, okay, show me the offers that you get from other companies, right? Because I'm still in the interview stage with other companies. So to increase your negotiating power, that's like one part is your skill sets, like how you express your ask, how you show them that you're really valuable. The second part is like reasonability, right? If you ask for a little bit more, why not? If you ask for a ton lot, then not gonna be working in this market. This is different from like 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to kind of add in some points to what Kara just mentioned. I think from the both the recruiter and also the interviewee perspective, try to do one round of negotiation. So when ask what you want to ask, but once the terms are agreed on both ends, don't adding additional terms. Because I've seen that before happen with people that come to us for interviews, and when we had agreement and I concede and start giving more on the budget side. And then once we agree, it's agreement, right? So, but if you come back to it, oh, by the way, also what about bonus or what about RSU? Then that becomes a little kind of a non-comfortable for on both sides. So maybe just do everything in one ask, and then once you get to it, let's stick with it. So that's the primary thing. Okay, I see Jess raised the hand. Go for it.
Hi, thanks Caroline for sharing this and thanks Dan for hosting. I have a question. I think it's also open to the audience as well. What's the best way to negotiate like pre-IPO stage stock offer? I think Carol also touched on like for base salary is pretty strict. Bonus pretty much depends on your level, and the much bigger room is the option, right? So there's a lot of bubble with first, like you don't know when it's going to actually go IPO, like it's the late IPO, but you don't know when. And you can have the opportunity probably to sell internally on a yearly basis. And I have this experience, like recruiters show me, oh, well, our estimation is like $100 per share. But when I actually check, like I quickly check on like ChatGPT, and they told me the recent number is actually probably like $80. So a lot of information. I don't know what's the best way to negotiate that part. Maybe you guys have some experience or tactics around it. Yeah.
All right, Carol, go ahead. I'll have something to add to the end.
Oh, you can go first. It's fine.
Okay, so I have experienced something like that in the past. There is something called the 409A valuations. 409A valuation is an independent appraisal of private companies' fair market value. So it's if people talking about their stock option price, they usually, with any kind of a fundraising, closing of a funding round, it's mandatory to have a 409A valuation to kind of go along with it. So from there, you can sort of see what the market cap is, and also what is the fair share prices. So in addition to that, one of the critical thing with especially the private companies, especially if you're taking kind of some kind of leadership role in these startups, is that there is a leaked document from the A16Z from a couple of years ago that documented based on the position and the function, the position ranging from directors all the way to C-suite, and also based on function, which from operations to marketing to finance, etc. So based on these, and also the company type is a SaaS-based, it's a non-SaaS-based, direct consumers, and then that shows what is the average percent of the equity of the entire company for different roles. So that's a kind of a holy gospel, or it's a reference point for you to kind of look at. For example, I think for VP roles in a Series B, in a analytics or finance function, and that is roughly 0.3% of the entire company's equity. For a non-SaaS based company. So using those as benchmark, I think it's sometimes less valuable to ask, hey, how many stock options are there? Or what is the stock options? What is the fair market value for these? Sometimes it's more important to ask, what is that percent of total outstanding common stocks, right? The common shares. So that probably is a better valuation against your peer, against different industry, against different positions. And those documents, it's not publicly available, but the document was leaked. So if you find, spend your time, and you might be able to find it.
Okay, thank you.
And then back to you, Carol.
Yeah, I was pretty much, you helped me answer Dan, like everything. One thing that I would suggest regarding the stock option, is like actually like the more practical way is like you actually find someone in the company already, like in a similar position, like networking with them, because like they're gonna tell you like there's a lot of things that you're not gonna see in the public, but the employee within the current company, they know a ton about stock options. Everyone's already like so ready to, go IPO, and they're like calculating their stock every day. So don't they know exactly how much it worth? Like, if there's any like like bad points about the how the recruiter tell you. So what I would do, I would probably spend, a couple $100 in inviting some friends, or, trying to network with someone in the company, have them a really nice dinner, and understand where their stock plan looks like. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Jesse, your hand is still raised. I'm not sure if that's a new question or not.
Sorry, but I do have one question. So
okay.
I have, so this is executive, like so he told me like you can say no 3 times. I doubt that, especially in this market. But you mentioned like I think like at least one time give all your kind of expectation is quite fair.
Yeah, please don't do three no's. Please don't do three no's. Like at this market, like don't do because I'm gonna walk you through the recruiter psychology, like what they are actually thinking, or the company psychology. So basically, they're giving you an offer for the first time. They're like, hopefully this candidate, like I've already spent so much time. Hopefully this candidate is gonna accept it right away. Okay, things happen, right? You didn't accept it. You come back and negotiate. They're like, okay, shit, this is like, okay, I need to put some time in this, put my brain into it and think about, and they're gonna ask you tons of questions to figure out what you're asking, and like how they can sort of agree or not agree to it. And then they're like, okay, after a couple, especially in big companies, after a couple negotiations, couple meetings in the company, they finally decided to give you like a little bit increase of the offer, right? And they come back to you, the recruiter's like, okay, so happy. They come back to you and say, hey, Jess, this is a new offer that we come up for you with like a little bit more range. And you were like, no, like this is too little or like whatever. They like after two times they will be pissed because they don't want you to leverage their offer. They would be thinking like you're leveraging their offer for something else, for a new offer. They're like, why this person is keep asking? Is it because like she's interviewing with another company and also in the offer stage and she's trying to show the other company that we can offer more? It becomes an offer bidding for between our company and the other company. Like recruiters don't want that. Company hates it because that shows like you're not committed to the company. You don't want it to come to the company. You all the way you go into the interview, you are ready to leverage their offer for another offer. So don't do that.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I can also share a bit of my experience. My last two job, sort of like big corporation company position, I was able to largely increase my base, but my stock is like not change at all. So I think it also depends on different situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So every company, some company, if they really care about stock or if they have already overbooked. So what overbooked means like, as a startup owner, when we get into seed round, Series A, Series B, every round we kind of dilute our share value, right? Like dilute our shares. Some companies in the early stage where they diluted too many shares, and in the later stage they just don't want it to dilute it anymore. So they would rather, and they have a good cash flow, so they would rather increase your base than increase your stock option. So it really depends on different companies. And you usually don't ask for two things. Like don't ask for everything. That's what I'm trying to say. Like don't be too greedy on that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to share data points, not data points, but more of a strategy on the offer negotiation as well. So this is not about the base salary or any kind of a base bonus on the stock option. It's really just sometimes to you, if you're thinking about getting tax benefits, sometimes you can ask, hey, instead of actually this amount for the sign-up bonus, let's say $50,000, right, for the sign-up bonus, but I want to move that to reimburse my moving expense instead. So I think there's tax advantage of doing that. When to the company, it makes no difference to them, right? It costs them the same, $50,000. But if you move, like say half of that 50,000 to 25K in the moving expense, and then 25K kind of remains in the sign-up bonus, then that 25K is 100% reimbursed back to you. Now, tax implication might be a little different, but at the very minimum, you're not paying straight tax from that directly. So there's could be some benefits of moving portion of the money to a different kind of a benefits, and that costs nothing to the employer. So that's one thing. And I also know, I guess the benefits also includes other things too. So one of my good friend, when he or she was negotiating with the offer, so once everything's settled, he asked for training expense. So he asked for, hey, can I get some budget for executive coaching that can help me to do my job better in this role, right? Obviously also help him personally to help him propel to the next level. So, and he was able to negotiate a, I think it was 20K budget for executive coaching. Those are expensive. Those are like $500 per hour, or even more expensive depending on your level. So I think that can also be, especially if you're higher up, that could be additional perks, additional things you can negotiate. That costs company almost nothing. And I think sometimes to them, those training expense might still make sense as well. So they don't kind of consider it as more of a cost. They consider it as more of an investment.
I see a question in the chat that may not have been answered. John was Speaking of a scenario where recruiters say information I found online John found online are self-reported and not accurate, not verified, so cannot be used as benchmark. So if recruiters say that to like comment on what you have researched on from your friends or online, how shall we respond?
Oh, sorry, I'll mute for a sec. I got a call. And so yeah, so basically this is you'll be like, okay, great. So can you tell me the actual range? It's super simple. Like if you said the information is wrong, so where can I get a reference from? Can you just tell me directly? Thank you.
That's super confident. Speaking of which, Carol, I know a lot of our like attendees today may come from like a background where we have been humble for the most part of our lives. And you were talking about for the first piece of advice of negotiation is to be more confident. Do you have some tips of like how can we like at least improve our confidence during our interview process?
That part is really another topic that I can went through another 60 minutes. Happy to do another session with you guys all. But increasing the confidence is not something that really like tips or something like I give you some tips, it will help you. It's really like going. So, okay, interview process is tricky because the more you interview, the more offer that you didn't get, the less confident you are. So, like, it is struggling, especially for myself, like to go through different interviews and didn't get offers, and you have to go and smile for next one. One thing that you could do is always start fresh. Like, just you have to really understand the point where the interview process is a both like you're trying to see if you're a good fit, and they are also trying to see if you are a good fit. So it's like mutual thing. Like you could be always confident for like, hey, I'm here to give you my time, and you're here to give my time. So we're respecting each other. Even if I don't get an offer, it's worthwhile to understand a little market more. It's to understand where my strengths and weakness are. One thing that I always do to increase my confidence is I ask for feedback. I want to because you don't want to be left in a dark box where you don't understand what you didn't do well, and you just feel like, oh, I'm not capable enough. I'm just not good enough. This is super bad. You want feedback from every interviewer to tell you why you didn't get in. A lot of times you don't get the real answer, but that's okay. It gives you like an answer. An answer is more important than everything else because you know if this thing you didn't do well, you're gonna go to the next interview being like, hey, I already improved myself for being this point and that point, you know. So you're just getting confident for everyone.
That's a great tip. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? As we're getting close to the 1 hour mark. Ping, I see you're unmuted. Any questions there?
Oh, no, sorry. I don't have any question. Thank you.
All right, well, I think this might be it then. We will have the screen, just from Jess, okay. We'll have the recording available once everything is downloaded and documented. Potentially we have the summary for this as well. As usual, we want to appreciate Carol and Brix for hosting this event. And for those hiring managers who are looking for help, talk to Carol. Her company is specializing in recruiting and using AI to streamline some of the processes. And also, if you have additional questions, feel free to leave a message in our main WeChat groups, and we can always try to potentially have a series 2, or maybe we can answer some of those on an ad hoc basis. We are also looking for volunteers to help out with our event organizations and marketing and even speakers. So if you're inclined or interested, feel free to let Emma, me, or Jessica know. All right, well, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for spending time with us on Friday, and have a good weekend. Bye, guys.
Everyone, have a great weekend.